Amen. This morning the text comes from, can be found in the book of Mark, 11th chapter, the 11th through the 14th verses. Amen. Stand with me if you will, can. As you turn to the page, I want to take this opportunity to thank Brother Brooks and those who assisted him in getting our camera repaired and backing up.
Yes.
Amen. Mark the 11th chapter, the 11th through the 14th verses. And Jesus entered into Jerusalem and into the temple. And when he had looked around about upon all things, and now the eventide was come, he went out into Bethany with the 12. And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. And Jesus answered and said unto it, no man eat fruit of thee hereafter forever. And his disciples heard it. And I want to use as a subject this morning, what have you heard? What have you heard? On Palm Sunday, Jesus makes a grand entrance into Jerusalem. The people greeted Jesus with the cries of Hosanna. God save us.
Yes.
And in their mind, the Son of David was truly coming to save them, to release them from the bondage of the Romans. Well, the truth was he indeed was coming to save them. But not militarily. But he was coming to save them spiritually. Take note, he was riding on a colt. In other words, his entry was one of peace. He wasn't riding in a chariot. He wasn't carrying carnal weapons of warfare. And the Bible says that there were many that lined the street. In fact, in the book of John, John records the Pharisees as saying, the world is gone after him. The text this morning begins with Jesus making preparation for what was to come. For there were a few days between Palm Sunday and what we call Resurrection Sunday. And Jesus was making preparations. And he goes into the temple. And the text says that he looked at things. He stood off to the side. He observed. And after observing, being tired, he went out into Bethany with his disciples to retire for the night. But on his return the next morning, 12th verse says, and on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. Mark says simply, he was hungry. Maybe it was early in the morning, maybe he left before breakfast, but he had need. His need painted a picture of his craving for fruit. Not necessarily physical fruit, but spiritual fruit in the lives of men. And Christ not only wants men, but he wants fruitful men.
Yes.
And this is his hunger, this is his craving, this is his desire, is what he longs for. And this is the very purpose for his being. John 15th chapter, the 7th and the 8th verse says, if ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples.
Yes.
Jesus saw the tree afar off. In other words, the tree was big. It was bushy. He could see it. It was fully developed. And so there had to be figs on this tree. There had to be fruit. And we ought to make note of something before I go any further. Because the church is full of potential, full of talents, full of gifts,
Yes.
full of foliage, full of leaves. But there is a shortage of fruit.
My Lord. My Lord.
Shortage of fruit. 14th verse. And Jesus answered it and said unto it, no man eat fruit of thee hereafter forever. And his disciples heard it. And that's my concern this morning. What have you heard? Jesus condemned perfection without fruit. Working, but no fruit.
My Lord.
Living, but no fruit. Talking, but saying nothing. Standing there, Jesus saw no fruit. The tree had life. It was existent. It had the sap to produce a rich foliage of leaves. And the sad thing was that the tree looked good. It looked like it ought to have fruit, but it had none.
My Lord.
And there are those, even among us this morning, in the same boat, looking good, but no fruit to show. No fruit to share. And when Jesus and his disciples got to the temple, Jesus saw some stuff he didn't like. He saw money changers taking advantage of people. And the Bible says he turned some tables over. You know, sometimes we just have to turn tables over. Change some stuff around. Sometimes things start out good or with the right purpose in mind, but it continues way past its usefulness. Mark 11, chapter 17 verses. And he taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer? But ye have made it a den of thieves. You know what we do in our dens, don't you? Amen. We relax, kick our shoes off, lean way back. And so there's something wrong with thieves and robbers being comfortable in the church. Malachi 3:8 says, well, a man robbed God. Yet ye have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering. Thieves ought not to be comfortable in church. In leaving Jerusalem, Jesus and his disciples passed by that fig tree again. Mark 11, chapter 19 through the 22nd verses. And when even was come, he went out of the city. And in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the root. And Peter called them to remembrance, said unto him, Master, behold, the fruit tree which thou cursest is withered away. And Jesus answered, saying unto them, have faith in God.